Good evening, everyone. As I promised in my video that I posted this morning, I am getting another video done for the day. This is going to be my planner review, quote unquote, video. So all of these lovely planners, it's a big stack. No, I'm not going to do flip throughs of every single one of them. That would just be a little bit too much, and we do not have time for that. But what I did want to do is collect all my planners from the beginning to now to be able to talk about them and pros and cons and kind of how I ended up in the setup that I'm in now. I'm sure I will go on many tangents about Franken planning and planner peace. So just be prepared for that. Strap in, get a glass of wine if you need it, even if you don't need it. So let's go ahead and get to it. And we're going to kind of move this guy and start with the first one. So, very first planner was my day runner. Super freaking simple, not complicated. Fairly large size. I'd say it's definitely in that big happy planner kind of range size. I've never actually compared the size. Interesting. So yeah, it's probably about the same because it's measuring at roughly like 9 by 11, just eyeballing it. So fairly large planner size, which is what I wanted at the time. This is obviously 2012 through 2013. It started in July and stopped in June of the next year, which I think is really strange, actually. I don't know why it does that. I just think that's incredibly odd. But yeah, started in July, ended in June of 2013. It's spiral bound, so it took quite a beating over time. I have a thing about like damask print and black and white, so it definitely makes sense that I had this. The beginning is very uncomplicated, and I think it kind of remains that way. I'm just going to kind of flip through a couple months. I wrote everything from important dates. I was a counter manager for Dillard's at the time. So like if one of my girls needed a day off for a particular reason, or if it was their birthday or their boyfriend's birthday, or they were going on vacation, I kind of wrote it all down in there. I also wrote down any major trainings or events that were going on so that I would be able to kind of write down. I lost my whole train of thought. I wrote down any major dates, vacations, things like that, so the girls wouldn't accidentally take off during that, or I would make sure I would have coverage, I think is what I was trying to say. I lost my train of thought because I was reading. So all that kind of went in there. I didn't really use the notes section that much. It looks like maybe phone numbers of reps that we had at the time, or certain things that I needed to get done. So that was kind of my month idea. It looks like I wrote in maybe when I worked a lot as well, which is a little strange because that's a very poor place for me to keep it. But nevertheless. Okay, so from a week perspective, the very first thing I want to talk about is the fact that it was horizontal layouts, which is crazy because I've been in vertical layouts now for I don't even know how long. Wow, we're going to find out in a minute how long I've been in vertical layouts. So I wrote my work schedule. I wrote things that I wanted to get done. Now, looking back, I had no idea it was hour by houred. So it actually had hour spaces from 8 to 5, which was totally unrealistic because I worked in retail. That's bananas to me, like the things that I'm noticing now on the back end, looking back at this planner. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to flip through the whole thing. Like that would just be ridiculous and boring. Nobody wants to see all that. But long story short, this guy was my first. He really was my first planner, my first big kid adulting thing. I felt like I needed it. I was in a more adult atmosphere. I was in a manager position, so I was really trying to like get it together. And at the time, there were tons of trainings, tons of emails, tons of conference calls, and lots to do on top of that. So it was the first time I really had enough to plan, and I was in charge of enough to plan. So that became a really big deal. I don't know if any of my school stuff was ever in here. I wonder. I don't think it ever was. No, I really don't think anything to do with school ever was in here. But it really was a great launch pad. It allowed me to kind of brain dump. I had been using spiral notebooks for a very long time, and notepads and things like that. And for some people that may work, but it definitely did not work for this job. It did not work for my life at the time. There was so much to keep up with, and this was a great way to keep up with it and have it a little bit more organized and have it date related as well. So I would have a little bit more clarity on when I might have met a person or when things were happening. So that's kind of my rant in regards to this planner. So after this planner wrapped up, I distinctly remember going to Barnes & Noble to see if I could hunt down another one and having quite a bit of trouble. So I had to get really creative because I changed jobs towards the end of the planner, but my responsibilities changed a lot in terms of what I went to do. I went to work for Buckle. And this was in the very beginning, and I was just a baby Buckle baby. So you're finding out about all these things that you're going to have to start doing. And if you've ever worked for Buckle or talked to anybody that worked for Buckle, you will fully understand why a planner was very necessary. Staying super organized was key. So trying to find something new was definitely about to be a huge struggle, which we'll talk about that and how I kind of solved that in a moment. So we're going to kind of intertwine this with how I ended up in some of the paper crafting things that I ended up in too, because that is actually really important. So before the world of planner, like I said, I was very spiral bound oriented. I was also very bound book oriented. So this is very special to me because this is even back before things like Smashbooks existed. This is back before I really knew what altar booking and junk journaling was. And this is where a lot of note taking went down. This is the only book that I have that is cover to cover. This is very special to me as well. It's actually a Moleskine book, I believe. That's a cute little pocket in the back. I love that this buckle card is in here. I can't wait to smash book that for real. And this is similar. This is just a little notebook. I did not fill it cover to cover, obviously. At least my handwriting appeared to be improving. But the reason that I kind of wanted to interject with these guys is because whenever I was ever in between a planner, and that was kind of how I planned, I wrote down budgeting, I journaled, I wrote down schedules and notes from work and work schedules, and it really was the same concept. It was a brain dump. It had phone numbers. It had everything. It just wasn't organized, which I really, if I can say anything about these two things, one, it led me to smash booking and junk journaling and my love of that. I adored that I could journal in them and that I could really throw down anything. And there really was no structure. And obviously what I didn't like about them was the fact that it was a complete unorganized hot mess. It was like my mind threw up on it constantly. And I was trying to figure out how to marry those two. How could we get there? And I think I have finally come up with a plan that I am putting into action now to get there. So we're going to see what happens over the next month. And then I'll be able to kind of tell you what direction I'm going to go in, because pretty much my decisions hang in a very large balance until the end of May. So whenever some questions get answered, then I will tell you what Franken plan, quote unquote, we're going forward with. But back to the story. So these little guys brought me to Smashbook because one day I was playing around in this one and my mom was like, "Are you Smashbooking? Like, what is that? Never heard of that. Didn't know what that was." And the next thing I know, my mom brings out a couple of them and she started off the enabling process. The problem now is I have a very large box full of Smashbooks that are completely unused because, unfortunately, they got discontinued. And when that happened, they all got discounted. And if you're a paper crafter of any kind, when something gets discounted and you like it at all, you buy it out in mass quantity because you know that it's never coming back. There is nothing that can be done. So I bought them out literally because they were going out. So I bought them up in mass quantity and now have them stored away, and I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to do with them all. I have some ideas. That's not entirely a lie. I do have some ideas, but you're going to have to wait on that too. So these guys kind of were my in-between. So they were great places for me to write notes and such and all of that I just described. Ooh, I can't figure out where my stack of books went. So just because we're on the topic, and I think this is the only one I have pulled out, this is my adorable Smashbook of Crazy. I haven't worked on it in quite some time due to the fact, mainly, that it was meant to be a dating book, if that makes any sense. So this was the book that I dedicated to my ex-fiance and I. So it's literally, when I say it's everything from the beginning, it is everything from the beginning. We have our ticket stubs to the first movie we ever went to, and kind of when I got first text messages, stuff like that. It is not a painful experience to go back through. It's very nostalgic for me. It's a little hard, but I'm also really proud of it. I spent a lot of time on it and a lot of hours, and he was so supportive of my paper crafting. Bought a lot of stuff for me, including the camera that I'm using right now still, so I am forever grateful for that. So, still big shout out to the support that he gave for that, because that's key. If you're a paper crafter, your significant other needs to definitely support you, because it's very time consuming and it seems very silly to some people. But I did want to show that off. If you do want to see a flip through of that, it is posted on my channel, so you guys can go through that. And also I did a video on my Handmade Marauders map on there. I think there's one of its own, so if you ever want to check that out, he's out there. But yeah, to not nod to the Smashbook in the middle of this would just be wrong, because it is a part of it. It was a spin-off of Planners of the Past and kind of how I chose to take it in that direction. I would love to go back and kind of do a paper crafting video that's similar to this, that talks more about the paper crafting journey I chose to take and why I chose to take it that way. I've been out of my paper crafting element for quite some time. About the only thing that I work on right now that's paper crafting related is the traveling notebook between Taylor Ann and myself. And I'm definitely feeling that, but I've been trying to use my current planner as a inspiration station, if you will, a place to go ahead and kind of get those wheels turning and play a little bit, but it's still not really doing the trick. But it's allowing me to get my feet wet and really try some product without my pictures that I love being involved in the whole shebang. So now back to the planners. So this is actually a cover I made. I laminated it. I was very proud of it. This was the very first happy planner I ever had. I believe the cover just finally gave out, honestly. Like, that's what I think. But once again, my wonderful mother that she is, gave me a phone call. Or no, I think we were actually wandering through Hobby Lobby. I'm not really sure how it all got started, but I saw a Happy Planner in a Hobby Lobby aisle one day, and I was like, oh my God, what is that? And it wasn't a good oh my God either. I was very negative the first time I saw it. I thought, oh, what is this? This looks like such an interesting way to do a planner. But keep in mind, I had been so ingrained in a kind of that horizontal layout that I was like, this is, and it didn't look professional to me. So it wasn't all about it. I was very uppity about the whole thing. And at the time, I believe I was in a Franklin Covey, which I would pull out for you, but I tossed and shredded all of the inserts for it at some point in all of this moving shenanigan. So I had nothing really to show you, which kind of sucked. But if you go down in my newsfeed, you'll actually see the Franklin Covey planner and how I set it up, I think. So that's down below. So just pausing for 1 second. Franklin Covey worked for about 6 seconds because even though it's great because it had like hour by hour in it, it was very professional looking. I tried to even keep like all of my credit cards and stuff in there. I felt like a big kid with a really, like, you felt like a very responsible adult with your Franklin Covey planner. And I kind of colored it up a little bit with some of the Martha Stewart inserts that she had come out with. So I felt really dignified about the whole thing. The problem was I needed my planner very, very accessible. And in the world of Buckle, you cannot go to the back room a lot. Your place is on the floor and that's where you need to stay. Well, I didn't want to keep all my credit cards on the floor. And I didn't want to keep my nice planner on the floor. I kept trying to hide it or close it. And that was just not working at all. So Franklin Covey eventually bit the dust. So now we're kind of going into this planner, which is 2015 through 2016. And this is Happy Planner. This is my first Happy Planner. This is back when the tabs were paper. They had no laminate on them. The paper was very thin, I feel like. I don't even think they had a ton of discs back then, which is crazy. I was in school. I can see that now. I was back in school for a little while here. I used my monthly spreads for credit card payments. This is back when it was the morning, afternoon, and evening. Oh, and this is back when there was only one kind. So when Happy Planner first launched, it was one kind, and that was the classic, quote unquote. I don't even think it was called the size that it is. It wasn't until they came out with ones after that they had to obviously call it the classic, because it was. I wrote my schedule at the top. I wrote about my MT training that I was going through, which was a management training. So everything went in here. What I loved so much about this was that it really broke your day down. And it was the first planner that made it realistic to me. I felt like Franklin Covey gave you all these hour by hours and you thought, okay, cool, this is going to break down my day. But if you weren't really using it, you really didn't know. Plus, it didn't leave a lot of room for kind of maybe things that you wanted to do or that you were doing. Let's put it in terms of things that you were doing. So, just as an example, so I needed to call this person. So being able to put that I left a voicemail was kind of cool because you couldn't really, I guess you could have with the Franklin Covey, but I just really didn't get that sense of free form, if you will. Now seeing what people have been able to do with like bullet journaling and Happy Planner and all the inserts and things that are accessible now, I think back to, I don't even know that graph paper was out back then. I'm pretty sure it was literally the planner and maybe 5 sticker packs back when I found it. So, I mean, we're talking about the very beginning. Which is so crazy, because I can remember turning my nose up in that aisle like so vividly. I can remember that, and then I remember going back and buying it, and getting very excited to move forward in it. Another thing I really loved was the quotes at the bottom. Okay, so back up just a little bit. So being able to break it down into morning, afternoon, evening. Okay, so between going to school, being in MT calls, and still like being like a zone department leader and all these jazzy things, having my day broken up to where I could really see it was key. So you didn't really have if you think about morning, afternoon, evening, that's not a lot of time. That's maybe 5-hour brackets, 4 or 5 hour brackets of time. And it's so easy to be like, I'm going to get all these things done this morning, all these things done this afternoon, all these things done this evening. Well, I wrote really big, obviously. So it was really easy for me to say, I want to get this done, this done, this done. Oh, well, that's way easier than doing it hour by hour, because especially in the world of retail, things happen. You may want to do something at 9 o'clock, but it may not get done until 3 o'clock. It's just not going to happen. So it was great to be able to look at the whole day and be like, these are all the things I want to get done in the day. Ready, go. So I'm going to kind of stop ranting about that. I did enjoy the quotes. I thought that was really great because that was very close to my heart. And it was definitely a good, thought-provoking prompt, if you will. HHN 2015. I'm loving it. Okay, so I kind of want to go here just for a minute because it looks like this is when graph paper kind of comes into play. This is also November of 2016, I believe. So this is when Happy Planner is starting to get to be a big deal. So Happy Planner is becoming a big deal, and I want to start getting crafty, and I'm playing with paper crafting again. So this is really, really cool to me. We've got the little inserts were there. I got a hole punch. Was this an actual hole punch? No! Oh my gosh. Okay. So this is super cool. This is back before the hole punches were a real thing. So what you did was you lined up something that had already been punched and you put a dot so you knew where to punch. You would punch with a hole punch, like a freehand hole punch, and then you would use scissors to cut. Yes, there was a time before all these hole punches, and then God bless ARC for coming along and having them, and then obviously Happy Planner. So this is when I start decorating and getting excited about that. So this started, I don't know, I'm pretty sure, yeah, that you can see that on YouTube if you go back. Oh, and I stamped. I just think that this is so cool to look back on my 2016 resolution. So I was wrong. That was the end of 2015 earlier that I was talking about. Oh, when I got my Studio L2E stamps. So that kind of started the stamping brigade of it. But this is the beginning of Happy Planner to me. And to me, that's really cool to look back on. And I've not gone through these in quite some time. And I'm going to try to blow through the other ones here in a minute. But I just really wanted to take some time on this one like I did my first planner because it's very, very important to me. All of them are. So this is where I kind of started to separate a little bit more and needed to. So I started This is all jacked up. Okay. Sorry. I was like trying to find my place in this whole shebang. So, February of 2016, I started working in my very own store, and I moved to Atlanta to take over a store. And it was a store that I had wanted pretty much since the beginning of Buckle, of my start with Buckle. So I really wanted to kind of hone in on a couple things. So I needed to be able to have like my top 5 things that I needed to get done in the day, because it wasn't just me anymore. It was me looking after an entire store of people and a store and guests. So that was very important to me, to have 5 things that I could tangibly get done a day. I believe I left for meetings this week, so I had challenges for my store. And then that was when the health and fitness block got started, and then that puppy was here to stay. I don't think I've ever gone through a time now where I don't have that block. This was probably the most decorative spread I ever got to do. I was still going through a laminating phase, so I love this where it was just a thought and it's an arc header. I might steal this and put it in my other one. Just up there. Ha! No pun intended. And then I laminated it to do pile. Another thing I laminated, we had certain things that we had to get done in a week. So I created like a cheat sheet for myself to be able to write everything down as I went through the week, so I didn't lose track. But yeah, that's kind of my rant. I fell off the train completely by March. With this one, it looks like, and I didn't mean to break that. I think it was because I got my new Happy Planner at the time, so I was trying to plan it. When Happy Planner also first started, they used to do where they would start in the summer. So you would start in July, and it would carry you through to the end of the very next year. So in this particular case, it started in 2015 of July of 2015, and finished, I think it was supposed to finish in December. It would have finished in December of the following year. If that makes sense at all. Yeah. So it would have finished out in December. It would have ended December 2016. Sorry, I was leaning backwards to try to figure out when it ended. So that being said, you would sometimes find planners that made you really, really excited the very next summer, and your planner still had like a year or something left in it. So you'd be sitting there going, I have an 18-month planner and I'm ready to start this little guy. What am I going to do with these 6 months? And you just chuck it, and it was just too hard to resist all the new Happy Planner products, like it still is. So now comes along Happy Planner 2.0. So Happy Planner 2.0 has these gorgeous laminated covers. Everything is quite a bit stronger. They have laminated the tabs at this point, so that's also awesome. It was when we started seeing like different kinds of discs. So this is when like those kind of jelly looking discs come along. This was the Happy kind of peony look. This is where we get to start seeing the Currently. And I'm grateful for started popping up. If I flip through this planner, you're not going to see a whole lot of anything. You're really not. And now looking back, I have been having so much trouble with my monthly spreads, and I'm like, how are you having issues? You just need to go back the way you were using it, and that'd be so much easier. But yeah, you're not going to see a ton happening in this planner because work was crazy. So I wasn't decorating anymore in it. I was just literally trying to keep my head above water by May. it was a very stressful time in my life. The people close to me know pretty much all the details that there are to know about it, but there's no way you're going to find anything really worth fun or talking about in this entire planner. It was an absolutely beautiful planner. I loved it. I was so excited about it and the newness of it. Pockets started coming out, it looks like. So there was a lot of new things happening. I just didn't have the time to play with it. And if you actually look at my video stream, you will really see that. You will see that there is like nothing in there. So the funny thing is there's kind of a gap. So the old one that I just showed you ended March. Well, this started in July. So what happened on the in-between? I will be happy to tell you. So Passion Planner became a thing. So whenever I went off to my meetings, my manager meetings that February, a lot of people had these passion planners, and I was like, okay, what's this all about? So I have a soft spot for the fact that, she created this company. It's a pretty cool company. If you've never checked it out, definitely check it out just to know the backstory of it. And every successful manager that I was looking up to had one. I thought, oh my God, I'm going to get one of these. And I'm going to be all about it. And a couple people already knew that I had like a YouTube channel and that I was all about planning. So they were like, you got to try this. You got to try this. So I loved it. And there's a whole bunch of reasons why. And there's actually a photo of my Instagram pretty much the day he showed up. It's a he. I'm going to call it a he. I never do my cover pages. I don't think in any planner I've ever had, honestly. So it gives you like a welcome page and a how the planner works. You create like a passion roadmap and you break it down and it gives you instructions on how to do it, which I think was handy. It gives you 4 years worth of calendars. Then you go into your month spreads. So your month spread covers like your focus and check-ins and notes to self and, projects and goals for work and for personal. And it's like it's amazing. It's such an amazing monthly layout. Like you can't help but look at this planner and be passionate or be inspired. Like there's just no way. And I loved it. I loved this. So then it kind of goes into a monthly reflection of the month before. So let's say this is January. At the end of January, you would fill this out, which I thought was great. And if you actually think about it, Happy Planner kind of does that now with like all these extension packs for fitness and for wellness and for budgeting. So you've got all that. So this goes on and on and on because it's all the months that you'll have for the year. And then you flip right over and bam, you're straight into your weeks. So I folded all my weeks down, so I'm going to flip ahead to kind of where it stopped just to be able to have a clean spread to show. So in your week layouts, you have a focus, good things that happen. You get a quote, you get a personal to-do list and a work to-do list, a note area, and then obviously the week. And it's all broken down into hour by hour from 8 a.m. to 10:30. And the top has a today's focus. You have a space for the date. Your to-do lists are broken down into top priority, and errands. So other than the monthly layout being the most inspiring, impressive thing I've ever really seen up until that point, I love the quotes in here. For example, this one says, you gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You must do the thing which you think you cannot do, by Eleanor Roosevelt. And then it would give you like a prompt. So it says, this week, whether it may be big or small, challenge yourself to face one of your biggest fears. Once you have conquered that fear, you may realize that most of the bad things that you once worried about were not as bad as you imagined. So tell me how you do not get inspired by this. Tell me. it was just unbelievable. I actually, if you watch my videos now, you will see me use these inserts. I freaking hate that there's no prompts and there's no quotes on them. It makes me nutty. I'd probably use them more if it did. I'd probably be a lot more inspired and get a lot more done if they did. But all in all, the reason that Passion Planner did not work for me. Okay, as I said before, it is very, very hard in a retail world to work hour by hour. It is almost impossible. Almost impossible. So I would write down hour by hour what I wanted to get done in a day, including before work and after work. And then things like people would call in sick, or I couldn't take lunch when I needed to, or I couldn't do a certain task because I was with a guest, or another guest took too long, or I needed to be in the office writing schedules, or just all these other things. So this structure that I had been so successful with for my Buckle career had been, these are the things you need to get done today. These are your top 3, your top 5, whatever. Get them done. However you get them done, just make sure they're done before you leave, had always really worked for me. I'd always found time, and I'd always been very aware of them. This was not okay anymore. It didn't work. Now, hour by hours are something that I can put in my life. I now am so much more available to this kind of planning than I was at the time. And the reason it had worked for so many managers that I looked up to is because they were area managers. Area managers not only have themselves, but they have a manager running their store as well. So they have to concentrate on doing things like reviews and phone calls and things like that. They might say, you know, from 2 to 6, I want to work on this project. Okay, cool. So they would block it in. And, you know, if something went awry and they couldn't do that project, you know, or what have you, you know, it would just get passed off to a visual person. So it wasn't like the end of the world. But all in all, it worked out a lot better for them because their schedules were not as kind of exposed to haphazard consequences. Not consequences, but haphazard just craziness, which mine was. So you get through all of your weeks. Another thing that made this so great is you can actually pick when your weeks start. So in the printouts that I use now, they all start on Mondays. But back then, a week started for us on a Sunday. Sunday was day 1 of the week. So it was so cool to see a planner that started on a Sunday. That I had just never seen that. And you can actually you can pick which version you want and how big you want this planner as well. It was also, so it is very customizable in that sense. Another really cool thing was that it was bound, and I had not had a bound book in a while, and it had this great little pocket and this pretty little sticker that I still have. After that, you went into a note, sketches, brainstorm, journaling section, which I never really knew about for a very long time, and then graph paper. So looking back, you know, Passion Planner could work for me now. I'm a lot more structured and a lot more hour by hour, and I'm very respectful of that now. So I think that, you know, finishing this planner at some point might be in my future, just so that I don't waste a really amazing product. So that could be on the horizon. But that was definitely one of those big planners that I think that people should know about, because it really is an amazing planner. And that was back before hour by hour stickers existed in Happy Planner too. And this is when Erin Condren kind of had that concept. I never had an Erin Condren. A lot of people did before Happy Planner was a thing. A lot of people converted from hers to Happy Planner because they were very similar in their styles. I lived in a very small town in Georgia, so it was not like we knew about really cool stuff like Erin Condren. That sounds really silly, but it's true. Like, I didn't know what Erin Condren was until I really investigated Happy Planner. So I was just in my little tiny bubble with my day runner. So after all the dust settled and I left Buckle and I was kind of picking myself up and deciding to go on my next journey forward, I went back to Happy Planner because once again, Happy Planner had always been there for me. It was in my mind's eye the whole time, and I wasn't getting what I needed from any other planner. So I started 2017 off with a Happy Planner. And I got a little crazy. I'm going to tell y'all, I got way crazy. You can actually go back and watch this video, and it is bananas. Because I did a big planner with a classic planner inside of it, because I still had a good chunk of the Peony planner. And then I was even crazy enough to put in, oh, did I take them all out? No, I didn't. To put in fitness as a miniature. So I had 3 planners in one. So I had a big, holding on to kind of the pretty version of planning. And then I had the classics being completely useless, it looks like. And then I had Mail Planner in there for the miniature. It was crazy. It was way too much. Granted, I had started decorating again. I was so excited. It was a mess. I was working for 2 of my old guests, actually, as their planners / assistants. That did not work out like any of us envisioned, and that's another story for another day. But starting that March, I went to work for Pottery Barn and left them, which was, trust me, a decision for the best. But Pottery Barn didn't really give me a lot to plan. Pottery Barn was not super planner oriented. So I really did not need that at all. Oh, it's the 3rd. Okay, sorry. Total random side note. Back on track. So I really did not have a lot to plan until I got into, here we go, September-ish area. So I worked for Pottery Barn and then went to work for Chris Reynolds, who is amazing. And he is such a great boss to have, and I adore him completely. But I went to work for him as his assistant. So suddenly, I got to plan again. So literally, this whole thing is pretty much blank, minus a couple weeks, and then boom. It was like back in action, which I loved. And it's so funny because I look back and sure enough, it went right back to what it always was. Tasks, fitness. And it's still that way. And I love it that way. I've always it brings me peace. That's my planner peace. So being able to be back in this planner was everything in the world to me. I really started writing again, and then by November, this is when it gets really cool, I started decorating, like really decorating again and making lists, and I had seen so many just amazing, really cool things, and finally got to incorporate them. And this was so great. And this is so fun to like look back on for me. But all in all, I finally got to go back to it. I I'm not going to pull out my other planner and show you guys that in this video because you guys can obviously check those videos out. But the main reason that I really wanted to go through these is because as I look forward into this year, and I have really spent a lot of time this year, now that I have time to kind of sit down and breathe and look back on planners, constantly asking yourself questions of, you know, what are you getting from your planner? What do you need from your planner? Did you have something like that before? Like, constantly being in that search and discover mode of your planner system. I truly and honestly believe that Happy Planner is one of the best planners out there for the fact that it offers you such a very flexible format. I did not intend for this video to be this long, so I'm going to hurry up and wrap it up. But all in all, I just really want to let you guys know that Happy Planner, with all of its products now, from the extension packs to the graph papers, so on and so forth, all these different sizes, there is a huge just abyss of things that you can accomplish with those. So with those products, and I think that people really have an outlet now, whether it was bullet journaling, whether it was Ultrabooking, well, not Ultrabooking, all of these journal styles that I have just gone through. Sorry, I'm kind of ranting because it's getting a little bit late and this video is longer than I wanted it to be. All of those journals that I just went through, you can now make work in Happy Planner. And a lot of people don't know that. Please, if you have any questions or you're struggling to find that planner piece or you have a question, please put it below. I would love to help you figure out a tangible answer to your problem. I'm a huge fan of making things as well. So if you're thinking like, I really don't want to buy this entire extension pack. I don't really know if I need it that much. I just think it's pretty, but I really want to replicate it. I can teach you. I can definitely help you, and I would be so happy to do so. That's been a huge focus for me this year, as well as really getting people on their own track to planner piece, because I'm definitely on mine and I'm not going to stop. I don't think you're ever supposed to stop either. I think that life happens, and life changes, so your planner has to change with you. So being open to that is so key. If something doesn't work 1 month, you can change it. If something doesn't work 1 week, change it. If something doesn't work that day, change it. Like, don't concentrate so much on the pretty. Concentrate on it being effective. I'm clapping my hands because that is like my passion statement like no other. It makes me crazy, and it makes me want to rip all my hair out when I see these absolutely gorgeous planners and no pen work in them, or no goals and no tasks. Like, oh my gosh, that's not planning, guys. That's not planning. I'm sorry. That's just my opinion on that topic. Plan in your planner. Happy Planner has some amazing memory keeping products. Use memory keeping products. That's it. That's the end of the rant. If you have a problem with it, please don't comment down below. Like, please don't save that for yourself. I understand that's your opinion and you may have it. Have it quietly. If you tuned into my channel, I don't have to have mine quietly. So long and short of it, please work to find your planner piece. If you need some extra help or an extra set of eyes, I'd be happy to help in any way that I can. I am going to shut this bad boy off and upload it, and I hope you guys enjoyed this really long planner review piece finding video, and find some peace in it. And happy planning to you guys, and keep your eyes peeled for a video flip through for May. That'll be a little bit of pin, but pretty much before the pin, so I'm really excited to show you guys that too. Well, thank you guys so much for sticking with me through this long-winded thing, and I will catch you guys later. Good night, everyone.